this camera is refusing to stay in decent position. Let's see if I can get this thing to work and not keep sliding over. I hope everybody is doing well. Thank you as always for anybody who joins. Hit like and subscribe. It helps out big time with the algorithm as I'm trying and failing miserably. Oh, I don't know what's going on or why this thing is refusing to stay straight. All right, I'm going to count that. I think that's pretty decent. Welcome, another Square and Compass live stream. For heaven's sakes. Another Square and Compass live stream. Thank you. I'm trying to get the stupid... There we go. I'm leaving it there. Another Square and Compass live stream. I hope everybody's doing well. Let's give it a bit of time. Let's see who joins. Please hit that like button and subscribe button. Let me know how you guys are doing and any thoughts you have on Freemasonry. This week is National Fire Prevention Week. In the States, at least. I'm actually not sure if it's Prevention Week in Canada as well. But I thought it might be kind of fun to discuss that a little bit. Talk about, our Masonic buildings and what we can do. Welcome, Rondo. How's it going? What we can do when it comes to our buildings to try to ensure that they are safe for all who wish to, be in them, for the public, for membership, as it relates to fire safety. As always, or the first hour of this stream is just waiting to see who joins and what they want to talk about. I'm doing well, Rondo. How are you doing? And I'm doing well, Dream Seeker, as well. How's it going? Friday, 8 a.m., Dream Seeker. It's your birthday today, Rondo? Happy birthday. Congratulations. Everybody put some of these celebration things in the chat. I don't actually know what they're even called. Emojis celebrating Rondo's birthday. So how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Actually, don't say. Let's not put personal information in the chat. Just say decades. What decade are you in? Are you like me and in your 40s? '84. Congratulations, you're 84 years old. I'm sure you look great for being 84 years of age. It is cold in Windsor. Finally getting and dealing with finally dealing with fall weather. It took a long enough time, honestly, and I was getting kind of sick of dealing with such cold weather, such warm weather for fall. However, I'm very happy that it's cold and fall weather once again. Hello, Derek. How is it going? Thank you for being here. Just waiting to send this out to some people. See who wants to join. If I could get some people on here. All the discussion about giving cousins to people. It got annoying. So do not be annoying, Derek. Well, being a fun guy is important, but you can also be too much of a fun guy. Not the mushroom. I mean, actually, too much of a fun guy. I have no idea who Shelbyville, Manhattan is, but okay. That's usually good advice. Do not be Shelby. I'm gonna take that as good advice. Do not be Shelbyville, Manhattan, whatever it is that means. But let's give it a bit more time. Let's see who joins as always, and let's talk about Freemasonry. It is once again National Fire Prevention Week. In the States, for sure. I don't know if that's also the case in Canada or in both Canada and the United States. But I know in the United States, it is National Fire Prevention Week. A good reminder to keep our buildings, yes, the Stain Man does return, to keep our buildings safe for both the public and our membership. Shelby, oh, a Simpsons reference. I haven't watched any Simpsons episodes in such a long time. Obviously, for me, when it comes to Simpsons episodes, my thoughts always go to, I can't think of the name now, always go to Stonecutter's episode, Homer the Great. I think for most Masons, when we think of The Simpsons, we think of that episode, famous Masonic episode. And then, a lot of, I think, people also think of The Simpsons in terms of the monorail episode. If you were a fan of Conan O'Brien, famously written, that's the episode that he wrote. But we'll talk about it in an hour with the National Fire Prevention Week. Give me 1 hour to discuss. The first hour, I like to just wait and see who joins. But obviously, make sure that you have smoke alarms or detectors that are tested. You should test them once a month, replace the batteries once a year, and replace them every 10 years. And have a list of when they are tested and who did the testing. Have fire extinguishers readily available. Have those checked by the proper authorities. I believe a couple times a year is necessary. Um, have a fire plan and have it posted, have fire exits and have them properly marked, and have them lit at all times. So even if your building, let's say, experiences a power outage, the emergency exits are still lit, and you can see them easily. Practice your fire prevention or fire safety drills. If you have a heritage building or an older building, invite the fire department to take a tour of the building. A lot of older buildings, especially their heritage, they will have unique features not seen in newer buildings. Inviting the fire department to take a tour of your building is actually, for heaven's sakes, is actually a really great way to ensure that if there is a fire, they will know where to go. So for example, in the Windsor Masonic Temple, if I call the fire department and say there's been a fire in the blue room, it's important that they know what the blue room is, where the blue room is, and how to get there. And if you take them on a tour of the building, they're going to have an easier time finding it than if they are just running around and can't find what the blue room is, right? So at least once a year, invite your fire department to take a tour of the building. John G, welcome. How's it going? You said hello, Harry. Do you know my pops at all? Are you from Winnipeg? Are you one of are you a Manitoba Mason? I mean, obviously, I will always say, Mr. Keeps, I'll always support having patrons and things like that. Pretty soon, within next week, it is my hope I will have my channel memberships available, and I will have super chats available. Once I do, for sure, I will let you know. Raven brings it up, and that's a perfect example, right? Oh, just in terms of, I mean, I'll always support and need patrons and stuff, but otherwise, in a couple days, I'm hoping by next week I should have my super chats ready and my membership to the stream ready. And you can support me that way as well. Where in America are you from, John G? And I think you're new to the stream, right? So please hit like and subscribe if you get the chance. I would truly appreciate it. Fire prevention is very important. You're absolutely correct. Um, why do you say that? I live in Canada, been here my whole life. I don't feel like India's taken over. There are Indians in Canada, but there's many different people in Canada. Dizalu, what do you think about Palestine? Okay, I've been to Dallas several times. Dallas, Fort Worth area. Uh, Texas is an Texas is an awesome state. Dallas is an awesome city. Actually, within Dallas, you have got the Texas Masonic Retirement Community. It's in Arlington. Um, Arlington, so close to Dallas. But the Texas Masonic Retirement Community really is a beautiful, beautiful, it really is a beautiful place, and it really is a crown jewel when it comes to what we as Masons can do for our communities. John, we see what we want to see. Sounds to me like someone's been listening to too much Fox News. Um, I'm from, what do you think about Palestine? I mean, what is there to say about Palestine other than it's a tragedy, it's terrible. You know, I'm a member of a Masonic lodge in Israel, um, Holy Land number 50, and I'm proud to be part of it. Proud to be part of a lodge in Israel. Having said that, I think what the Israeli government's doing in Palestine is pretty terrible and pretty horrendous. That's my own personal opinion. Diza Lu, that's not referencing Freemasons, all of whom will have different opinions about what Freemasonry, or sorry, about the situation in Palestine, right? There is no official position because Freemasonry is not a political organization. I can just give my opinion on it. And you can take that for whatever it's worth. Oh, John G, it's a little bit racist now over here. I lack hygiene, and I was born in Canada, so take that for what it's worth. Um, well, that is strange, John G. I've never seen an Indian person and thought I should smell them. Uh, that's very weird to. That's very strange to be doing that. I've never felt the need to smell anybody, to be honest. Nor would I want to smell your work boots, to be fair. In fact, if I were to go up to an Indian person and say, I'd like to smell you, and compare your smell to the smell of John G's work boots after 15 hours of OT, they might think I'm strange. Welcome, Smokey. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here as always. And Raven brought up a really good point above. Knowing the layout of our Masonic buildings is incredibly important for the local fire department because, especially when they're heritage buildings and older buildings or have multiple rooms in them, if you have a fire department that's responding to a call, they need to know kind of the layout of the building and have some familiarity with it. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves not knowing where to go or where to put out um, um, put out the fire. Hence, you need to have a fire department that's familiar with and understands the layout of your buildings. I do have a big nose, John G. That is true. That is true. Yep. I remember years and years ago, I had to have a CAT scan. Nothing ever came of it, thankfully. But I remember having to drink this. It was like some weird liquid that went through your blood and helped them trace the blood through your system. I don't remember exactly what it was for. I remember it was gross. Um, Seems like John G uh, is not the happiest of fellows, but still, John, it's good to have you here. Thank you for joining. It's going well, Courtney. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. As always, we're going to wait for 1 hour and then start on our main topic. Oh, someone's been checking out way too many, shall we say, internet news sources. I don't feel invaded. I'm having a great time in Canada. I always say Canada is the greatest country in the world, and it is. Part of that is because we have the greatest neighbors in the world, in the States, and I do love the States. However, Canada is my home and I love it, and I do not feel invaded in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I like to think that one of the greatest strengths of Canada is its welcoming nature. Yes, Raven, you're absolutely correct. I think, I have taken some efforts to encourage that. I've had the fire department come to our Masonic building for tours, for coffee, for presentations, both to presentations to the membership about fire safety in our building and in their homes, as well as um, giving the fire department a tour of the building so they are aware of the layouts. I asked about the Masons. Can you give some insights on why it could be joined? Um, well, Saskatchewan does suck. I grew up in Manitoba, so I hate Saskatchewan. William, I asked about the Masons. Sure, William, and thank you for being here. If you're new, please give the like and subscribe button a hit. Um, well, they marry their cousins over there. The purpose of Freemasonry, right? And even why it's good to join. This is going to sound like a cop out answer, William, but it's not. You have to decide that for yourself. Everybody has to decide that for themselves. Freemasonry, everybody will view it as having a different purpose. Everybody will view it as different reasons why they join, right? And without knowing you, it'd be hard for me to guess as to what you may get from it, which is why what you need to do is contact your local Masonic lodge, express your interest in joining, and ask them those questions and let them get to know you. Um, I can say in general, um, you will definitely meet people you would not otherwise meet. You'll make friends you would not otherwise have made. You will develop, if you're active, certain skills related to things like organizing and administering a meeting, correspondence, like maintaining the administrative functions of a lodge. If you have any nerves about public speaking, Freemasonry can help with that. If you have any nerves about making presentations in a public setting, Freemasonry can help with that. The purpose, again, to me, the purpose is to try to make the world a better place through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. However, people have different purposes. Some people join because they want to be closer to their family, and they've had family members who are Freemasons. Some people join because they want to be part of a group and develop friendships they would not otherwise make. In fact, Freemasonry was for a time incredibly popular with new Canadians or immigrants because it was a way for them to make friends and be part of the community relatively quickly. Um, some people join because they love history and they love being part of a historical organization. Some people joined Like, so there's a million reasons why people will join Freemasonry and the purpose that they find within it. Ultimately, at its most base level, the purpose of Freemasonry is the same as the purpose of playing team sports, the same as the purpose of joining a union, the same as the purpose of joining a knitting club. It's about fulfilling the human desire to belong to something and to belong to a group that is greater than oneself or that can support oneself. There's also potential for assistance when it comes to things like benevolence or like if you were to, heaven forbid, lose your job, maybe your place is a fire. You have people you can support on. You have people on whom you can rely for support, on whom you can rely for assistance. And by the same token, you know that there are people that will rely on you for assistance and you for help, and that's a very good feeling. I hope that made sense. Ashley Bishton, welcome. I think you're new to the stream. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, there should be Masonic Black Ops, Rainy Girl. That would be a lot of fun. I would love to see Masonic Black Ops. That would be a very enjoyable experience. Well, welcome, Ashley. Please hit like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, or any questions. This first hour, it's just me asking questions. The Freemasonry. I've been a Mason since 2007, so about 20 years almost, which is crazy to think it's been that long, to be honest. Um, yes, I discussed Freemasonry. We got some exciting things coming up in the channel very shortly, so um, as we get them, I will let you know what's coming up. Follow me on all my different socials because there's often been movie marathons. I'm thinking of doing another movie marathon for um, The Good Witch, which is a TV show I love, in honor of Halloween, actually. We're all going to die. I hope not soon. I'll keep my fingers crossed, not soon. What chapter do I join to be like the founders? Well, uh, some Masons do, some Masons don't. Freemasonry is not a religion, so you'd have to ask each individual Mason if they believe in the end times or not. I know some Christian Masons who I think believe in the end times, but it's not consistent. Again, you'd have to ask each Mason, because Freemasonry is not a religion, right? I will say Freemasonry does not discriminate against any group, including Muslims or Islam. I know many Islamic Freemasons, and I'm proud that they are part of the craft. Everything starts with the entered apprentice degree or the Blue Lodge or the Craft Lodge. Um, when you say founders, I mean, George Washington was a member of lodges out of Virginia, Ben Franklin out of Pennsylvania, Paul Revere out of Massachusetts. In fact, hold on just 1 second. I promise I'm going to come back. I gotta find this thing now. I have a Masonic Lodge. So I have a challenge coin pin from a Masonic Lodge that was founded by Paul Revere. Oh, I got it here. Okay, that was cool. I found it right away. Let me see if I can track it down here. This one here, this is from the Paul Revere Lodge. So, I mean, you could look at joining a lodge in more New England, but you need to understand Freemasonry is a unique experience for everyone. The experience that George Washington had and Paul Revere had and Ben Franklin had within their Masonic lodges, is not going to be the same as the experience you have. Even if you joined at the same time as they did, it would not be the same. Freemasonry is a unique, personalized experience. And also, society in the Founding Fathers' day was so different. It's hard to imagine that Freemasonry would not have changed significantly in the last, 250 years? Something like that. I didn't ignore it, William. I'm trying to answer. It just takes time. Well, that's going to be another hour in, Derek, or another 35 minutes in. So give it a bit more time. I've been trying to get a Paul Revere silver spoon. I don't know what that is. Like I said, I've got this very cool Paul Revere coin from the Paul Revere Traveling Men Midnight Riders. He founded the lodge out of Massachusetts in, oh my gosh, in 1794. Or at least he founded several lodges in 1794. If anybody can find a Paul Revere silver spoon, please send it to me. That would be awesome. I would love to have one of those for my collection. I just don't know where to find one. Interestingly enough, one TV show I got into was Sleepy Hollow. And the cool thing about Sleepy Hollow is it actually featured a couple episodes of regarding the Freemasons, and it talked about Paul Revere. So that's an interesting kind of historical element to it. Hello, Sean's non-existent hairline. How is it going for you? I hope you're doing well. I hope you will hit that like button if you're not done so yet. There are currently 9 people watching. No one hit this like button yet. Please hit the like button. And also, please make sure to leave comments on my various videos. Leaving comments helps majorly with other people finding it, finding the streams. It's going well. It's going very well. Finally have nice fall weather. It took forever to get fall weather, so I'm happy we finally have it. Feels good. Feels like fall. Yes, everybody should be like Raven. As soon as you get into the stream, hit the like button. And hit the subscribe button if you're not done so already. And if you want to stay up late, feel free, because I do these streams at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. And the 1 a.m. streams, interestingly enough, tend to do better than the 1 p.m. streams. People that must be like me like to stay up late. Yes, like and subscribe. I don't know. I'm going to a Masonic Lodge meeting. Going to a Masonic Lodge meeting tonight at 8. So whatever they're having, I suppose. I guess I'll see. I'll probably have a snack before then, though. That's always good advice, Rainy Girl 65. Using our power wisely is incredibly important. And I think very often underappreciated. Well, when you're having dinners, yes, the responsibility for meal or refreshment is usually done through what's called the junior warden, which is an office in lodge. Sometimes the junior warden will kind of outsource it to others. And that is, like the stewards, for example, but he decides what it is that you eat. I don't know off the top of my head. It's jurisdictional. I know I was told in Texas it's 67 years of age. Unfortunately, it's trending up. It's getting older, which is unfortunate. That is the case. We're not getting the young members that we used to get. So that is one of the very challenging parts of it. No. Well, interestingly enough, it is very fun to be a bank robber, but you should not do it. Jury, and please like and subscribe. They do have at times what are called, in the States especially, open installations. Those are open to friends and family, or I mean members of the public, to see the installation. If you did want to go and see that, you would have to talk to a lodge in the States, see if they have an open installation, and if you can attend. Otherwise, what you can do is just contact the Masonic Lodge, explain your interest, and ask to have a dinner with them or coffee with them. That's the best way to take. Yes, I got a big nose, the higher observer. I've grown to accept that. Please hit like and subscribe. And as Raven says, I mean, many buildings have tours. Windsor, Detroit, um, Philadelphia, UGLE. Smaller buildings will sometimes have open houses and special events. I do not believe in ghosts, but I believe that ghost tours can be great economic and revenue sources for Masonic buildings. Stabworthy, please hit like and subscribe. Um, I'd appreciate that very much. Yes, well, every Shriner is a Freemason, right? The Shrine is an independent body within Freemasonry. So to be a Shriner, you must first be a Freemason. Yes, it's an appendant body. Icelandic Viking. I have no idea what that means. Um, I do not know what I do not know what that means. Nonetheless, please hit like and subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Well, we're all beautiful in our way. That's what I'll choose to say, the higher observer. You can hit like and subscribe. Rainy Girl, it's a great, fun car to drive. I've actually never driven the little car before, so I can't say, but it looks like a lot of fun to drive. So I hope that you get the chance to one day. Good for you, Icelandic Viking. But you can still hit that like and subscribe button. What is an Amaphrodite? And yes, the question isn't whether I believe in ghosts, it's whether ghosts believe in themselves. That's the ultimate question. My cat is behind me right now eating her food. If I get a chance to pull him up or pull her up, I will. Well, it's either tiny motorcycles or it's either tiny motorcycles or tiny cars. Either way, they're really, really cool. No, I mean, Shrine is a wonderful part of the Masonic experience. They make the lodges, they add a lot of charitable efforts to our Masonic lodges. So absolutely, they're wonderful to have. What is the Holy of Holies? Are you referencing like the Masonic Lodge, the lodge room, or a chamber within the lodge room? Um, anytime my dad farts, anytime my dad would fart, he would say, better an empty house than a bad tenant. So I think that that counts as well, as a great saying. Dads often have very funny sayings about their farts. They wouldn't be a dad if they didn't have funny sayings about farts. So I've never heard that expression before, to be honest. Stab worthy. So maybe though. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Shriners had some funny sayings. Maybe he developed that saying because he was riding the little motorcycle. Welcome, Khan. Thank you for being here. It's probably what's called a chamber of reflection sometimes in a Masonic lodge. As Dad says, there are many masters of Masonic lodges, not just masters, but many Masons who are also potentates, which is the highest rank within the shrine. Welcome, Disillusioned American. Keep in mind, Disillusioned American, not everybody on this stream is a Freemason themselves, but thank you for being here nonetheless. Please, Disillusioned American, hit like and subscribe if you're not done so yet. And I hope you are not too disillusioned for too long. There's a lot of good in America as well. A lot of good people. Shriners do a lot of good helping people. Mikhail Gorb, please hit like and subscribe. Well, they have Shriners Children's Hospitals, right? So you need to keep that in mind as well. Many hospitals were formed by Shriners for children. Welcome, Pain. Poison to what? I'm not sure what you mean by that pain, but thank you nonetheless for being here. Yeah, no, there is that. Masonic funeral services are one of the probably the most important or the most public aspect of what it means to be a Freemason. It's one of the few times we can wear our regalia in public without dispensation, without request from Grand Lodge. They're a way to promote. I mean, obviously, what it is a way to say goodbye to our brother who's passed away. It is also very often a way for us to kind of not promote ourselves, but show ourselves to the community or to the people at the funeral service. So they're very important things to do. I always tell brothers, if you're going to, when you're doing your will, make sure to take the time to advise to put in your will and advise your next of kin or your executor that you want a Masonic funeral service. Um, that is something really important. The kilts, I mean, most Masons don't wear kilts, but there are some lodges, if they have any type of Irish or Scottish heritage specifically, will wear kilts as part of their like meeting nights. That does happen. Wisdom dwells in contemplation. Wisdom dwells in many things, but contemplation is one of them. I don't know. Hit the like and subscribe button, Stephen, and we shall see. And let's give it a bit more time. Then I'm going to talk about National Fire Prevention Week. Also, um, don't forget about my Medium channel, which is my written content about Freemasonry. I just did another work talking about Freemasonry and customer service. The lessons that we can take from effective customer service practices. So you can follow me there. It's always good advice for everybody. It's always good advice. I do not know what TFMM means, unless I'm missing something, unless it's something Masonic that I can't think of right now. For real, what's the point of Masonic Lodge? What's the point in creating what's the point in creating any group or organization, right? Human beings, our nature is to desire connection, to want to be part of groups. When Aristotle said that human beings are, right, said that humans are political animals. He didn't mean that we as humans, are liberal or Republican or conservative or Democrat. What he meant is human beings desire to be part of a group, desire to be part of an organization, and to create rules and structures within those organizations. And Freemasonry fulfills that. Well, I mean, at its core, Mikhail, you're not wrong. Whether it's a street gang or a football team or a soccer team or a knitting club or an army unit or Freemasonry, or in some cases, religious organizations as well, or congregations. In every case, it's fulfilling the same purpose at its core, which is the desire to belong and to be part of a group. Then you have to ask the question is what that group is doing as it fulfills that desire good or bad for society? I would say a street gang is bad both for its membership and society, whereas Freemasonry is good. But at its core, they're all fulfilling the same basic desire. It's just the way those desires are then channeled and then made, and then brought into the world. Um, I'm from Ontario. Maybe I have a bit of a Boston accent. Um, I'm about 9 hours from New York City. I have an Ontario accent. Um, what does it mean to be made manifest, Mikhail? I'm not sure what that means. Good question, Raven. That's a really good question. So Freemasonry, it's it's both personal and universal. What I mean by that is every Freemason ultimately has to decide for himself or herself, we're going to talk about Order of Women Freemasons, what Freemasonry means to them and how it works and how it operates and what it means. Um, there are, like, I can travel anywhere in the world, find a Masonic lodge, and if it's a legitimate Masonic lodge, I will recognize while I'm there the Masonic ideals and philosophies. In the same way, if I played football, I could play on any football team and recognize it as football. Now, there will be differences in the way the team plays, their coaching philosophy. Are they an offensive team, a defensive team? What are their strengths? What are the weaknesses? But there's a universal understanding that you're playing football, just like there's a universal understanding that you're participating in Masonry. However, each Mason will determine what the purpose is of Freemasonry. Some will argue that Freemasonry is about an individual's growth, and that's its primary goal. Others will argue that Freemasonry is about making good men better. Others will say, like me, it's about community involvement and engagement and relevance. Every Freemason needs to determine what Freemasonry is to him. And then, to a certain extent, he can try to persuade his brethren of that belief. Or if he's worshipful master, encourage the same. But that's up to him. Say a boot. There you go. What is the promotions? Do you mean Square and Compass promotions? You can find them through Patreon, Mr. Bigglesworth. So go to patreon.com/square and compass. The other thing is I try to promote the relevance of Freemasonry, or at least examine the relevance of Freemasonry in the lives and communities in which it's located. Um, so when I say promotions, what I refer to in the channel title is again promoting the ways in which Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. Um, when I talk about promotions for me, it's different promotions I do at various parts of the year. For example, this year it's it's my Patreon promotions and become a Patreon member. Pretty soon it's going to be channel memberships and super chats. So all that stuff is going to be very fun, and I'm looking forward to doing it. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button, by the way. That's another thing I'm promoting, the YouTube channel. But ultimately, it's promoting the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. And welcome back, by the way, Mr. Bigglesworth. Yes, Freemasonry, Dad put it well. Freemasonry is the same principles, but the way you demonstrate those principles or promote those principles, if you will, is going to be different, not just depending on the worshipful master, but depending on the nature of the Masonic Lodge itself and the membership therein. And we're going to give it a bit more time. We're going to see who else joins. Once again, I do these streams 1 p.m., 1 a.m., and then I also do podcast episodes. Al Shank. When you say the funds, do you mean for Square and Compass promotions, or do you mean dues? Because Square and Compass promotions is my own sole proprietorship small business. So it's funds for me to continue doing this and to try to turn this into a full-time living. I want to try to demonstrate to Masons it is possible to try to make a living by focusing on Freemasonry on social media. So it goes to Square and Compass Promotions, and I pay my taxes on it. If you're talking about my dues go to the lodge, and then the lodge can do charity work, or the lodge can do, use it for its operating costs. I wish it were to be true to its values. I mean, Alshank, Alsac, welcome. Thank you for being here. Sounds like you're a bit disillusioned with Freemasonry, which, believe me, I've been there many times. Let me know what it is about maybe Freemasonry, um, and how it is that you maybe like why it is perhaps that you feel it's not true to its values. Because I get it, I feel the same way. So then, yeah, the funding comes to Square and Compass Promotions. Um, and my efforts on promoting Freemasonry and the way Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. The same way, like Dominion Regalia sells Masonic regalia and Masonic items, the funding goes to them directly. I do not know what we need to grow the order, the black. I do not know what the black camel means. Never heard that before. Um, If you can let me know what that means, I'd appreciate it. I do agree, though. We both need to grow our order in terms of membership, but even more importantly, we need to make sure our members are attending Lodge regularly. We need to make sure they are engaged and active in Lodge in many different forms. So there is that as well. But you're right. But what does that mean, the black camel? Does that mean death? Because we are losing members at a rate far quicker than we are gaining them. That is 100% the case. Is that the average age of death for a member? The average age of Freemasons is 67 in Texas. I know that. I don't completely disagree with you, Alsac. I think it would behoove us as Freemasons to spend more time learning about the roots of Freemasonry and to learn more about what it means to be a stonemason, right? I absolutely agree with you that that is a valid point. However, when Freemasonry was at its height and experienced its greatest boom periods, it was not on the backs of tradesmen. It was actually on the backs of soldiers, but it was a desire for brotherhood more so than anything else. So I think we need to keep that in mind as well. Um, well, you need to say you believe in a supreme being, Raven, but the nature of that supreme being should be up to you. I'm not quite sure what your Masonic Lodge is getting at. Um, that should be sufficient. It often is. I would just ask your Masonic Lodge for a little bit more explanation. Like I said, most times the term supreme being is interpreted pretty liberally. It sounds like they're interpreting it very strictly, which I don't really understand the nature of that. But I'd say you'd have to talk more to the people, the Masonic Lodge you've spoken to before. Have you ever done it formally or just informally? Um, well, St. George, I'm very sorry to hear that. Derek, welcome, Derek. I think you're new to the stream. Thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. I don't think Raven is slow. Why would you say that about Raven? Or even me. I don't necessarily believe in a supreme being in the sense of a religious context. Um, I believe in a supreme being more in the sense of the rules that govern our universe. If it's informally, Raven, I wouldn't take it too serious at this point. Rather, I would approach them formally and if you're interested in joining and go from there. Um, as Disillusioned American says, that's the way to do it. It should be more of a formal interview and sit down and discussion. And you should take your time with it and don't rush it. Have a few meetings with them. Get to know them, let them get to know you. If you have a family, same thing. That is the best way to approach it. I don't know what a waiver means. Application? You don't need a waiver to be a Freemason. So I'm not exactly sure what that would mean. Still not sure what that means, waiver. Or even when we say local treasurer, you would normally contact the secretary first. And I'm very sorry that THAC, you have a headache. Or do you mean waiver as in you're trying to find, like, get financial support potentially for the waiver, like financial support? Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. Like, I know many Masons who um, do not join the lodge that's in their local town, but rather join a Masonic lodge that's out of their jurisdiction. Sometimes they'll do it because they have friends who are in the lodge that's outside of their town. Sometimes they'll do it because they used to live in that town and want to maintain roots in it. Sometimes they'll do it because they may live in one town but work in another, and it's easier for them to join the Masonic lodge where they work as opposed to where they live. The idea of needing a waiver. What jurisdiction are you in, Raven HQ? Um, Now, if a Masonic lodge were to say, we're going to not allow you to join and blackball you, then you may need a waiver to ask you to join another lodge. Um, Binu Sneed. So then it would make sense to want to join a lodge in another town. So I'm not sure necessarily what, but again, that could be a jurisdictional thing about which I'm not aware, or of which I'm not aware. Certainly here in Ontario, we have many brethren who live in one town and attend lodge in another. Um, Welcome, Bo Sneed. Please hit like and subscribe. When you say join a church, you certainly can join a church. Freemasonry is not a religion, right? So if you are looking for more religious understandings or religious involvement, then you should absolutely join a church. Otherwise, join, you should join a Masonic lodge if you're looking for something different. It's about what you're looking for and why you want to join things. That's what matters the most, um, obviously, right? More so than anything else. Oh, see, maybe, because again, so for example, to be a Mason, to join a lodge in Ontario, you need to have lived in the jurisdiction, you need to have lived in Ontario for a year, right? But that's not the same as living within the district, unless it's a different district, which is possible. That is possible as well, in the sense that, okay, so I live in Essex County District. If I want to join a lodge in Chatham, but it's the same jurisdiction. If I lived in Texas but wanted to join a lodge in Louisiana because I was on the border, then you may need a jurisdiction as well. Free Angle, welcome. Serial Hill Killer, welcome. Yeah, there are some residency requirements about jurisdictions. Um, I mean, it does get confusing because if you're not a member, like for a non-Mason, The most important thing to note is it usually will never become an issue for you. Normally, you'll just find your local Masonic lodge and join it. If you wanted to, so let's say you live in Texas, but want to join a Masonic lodge in Louisiana, or let's say Ontario. Let's say you moved to Ontario and you've lived in Ontario for 3 or 4 months. You need to wait for a year before you can join your Masonic lodge there. There's usually some type of residency requirement, but that's living within the whole province of Ontario. If you wanted to join a lodge, one town over, then it's a different story. Because, again, why would you need to necessarily, again, but different jurisdictions have different rules. Basically, what most lodges want, though, is they want to make sure that if you're joining, you either live in the town or will be able to attend regularly, right? If you live outside of the town, they're not necessarily going to want you to join the Masonic Lodge, because how regularly could you attend? But I've known many Masonic members who are members of lodges outside of their towns. Um, Yeah, I would think so too, Rondo. And that's a big thing to keep in mind. There are many Masonic lodges where the town itself is a company town. They have people coming in and out for work, in and out for travel, and are more lenient or more accepting of having members from who don't live within the jurisdiction. Um, Karen HOA is back as always. But what I'd say, Raven, Patty Smith, hello. What I'd say is if you are interested in joining a Masonic lodge that's not within your town, by all means, ask for a waiver. See about joining outside of the town or outside of the lodge. Or you could join the lodge within your town and then travel and affiliate with the lodge outside of your town. You can do that way as well, right? So what you can do is join at your local town, then request a or request affiliation outside of the town. But yeah, waiver, now that I think about it more, I can actually think about times when there is some type of residency requirement and a waiver may be required. Um, Angela Montgomery. Welcome, Angela. Please hit like and subscribe. Hellscream says, mate, please hit like and subscribe. Hellscream, I love your title, your username as someone who loves scary movies. Um, okay, maybe we'll get back to you later, but you can always call him up, I suppose. Michael, believe in a supreme being a good human. Welcome, disillusioned American. Thank you again for still being here. I appreciate it. Believe in a supreme being is very important. Being a good person is very important. Being the right age is very important. Again, there are residency requirements as well, but each residency requirement is decided by the Masonic jurisdiction. Um, I think every mayor I know of speaks the language of the town. Um, yeah, I think maybe you need to take a more formal approach to it, Raven, and actually speak with them. It sounds to me like you would believe in a supreme being, as understood by most Masonic lodges that I've been to. But the thing is, what you need to do is spend more time speaking with them in a more formal manner, um, is what I would suggest. Although it's funny you say that. On X, mayor is trending. I'm not sure why or what's going on, but I'm curious. I mean, just as that, a former Mason, I would usually use the term suspended or demitted Mason, right? A demitted Mason or suspended, someone who has chosen to stop paying their dues and has left Freemasonry. In some cases, they could have been removed from Masonic charges, but it just depends on um, it depends on the circumstances. But usually, I would use the term former Mason, certainly in kind of general conversations. But yeah, it's interesting. It might be worth M member. It might be worth looking into more of these residency requirements around different jurisdictions and see what they are, and how they operate. And maybe there are some where you actually have to live in the jurisdiction, in the district itself. It'd be worth exploring more. So thank you, Raven, for that. Um, right, disillusioned American. However, what I would say is, um, don't even think about it at the start of filling out an application, right? Most Masonic jurisdictions are really encouraging lodges to not hand out applications upon the first request. Rather, get to know the brother, get to know why he wants to join, or get to know the applicant, excuse me. Get to know why he wants to be a Freemason, what he understands about Freemasonry, have him attend some social functions, have him attend, dinner after lodge, have him attend whatever it is he needs to attend, to get to know the brethren and for the brethren to get to know him. And after you've done that, then potentially give him an application. But don't hand out applications right away. That is a very common refrain amongst Masonic jurisdictions. And it's a refrain I agree with. I think we need to be better about that. Um, Not being so quick to hand out applications on the first ask, but get to know the brethren, get to know the applicant, get to know the person, and let the applicant get to know the brethren. Um, and don't rush the process at any point. And once you get your degrees, don't rush getting through them. Know what it's like to be an entered apprentice, know what it's like to be a fellow craft, know what it's like to be a master mason, know what it's like to be a lodge member before you get into the Scottish Rite and the York Rite. Don't rush the process, would be one of my key um, arguments, or key ideas within Freemasonry. Um, as Disillusioned American says, though, to be one, ask one, and that really is the key. Also, make sure that whomever you're asking is not a clandestine Mason, but a legitimate Mason. The best way to do that is ask them which Grand Lodge they are affiliated with, and then do a Google search for that Grand Lodge and call them up. So if they say they're affiliated with the Grand Lodge of Texas, do a Google search of that, call them, and ask if that lodge is recognized. Is the best way to do it, because I don't have anything against clandestine lodges. I'm not one of these people who you know, get super uptight about them. I think plenty of sand in the sandbox, but I do also think we need to know which ones are quote unquote legitimate and which ones are clandestine for the purposes of joining. And if you decide you want to join a clandestine lodge, that's awesome. If you like them, if you like the people, if it seems like a good fit for you, just understand if you're joining that clandestine lodge, the danger is you're not going to be able to visit other Masonic lodges. So you need to keep that in mind as well. They should sponsor you. That's true. It depends on which lodge, right? They're part of. You need to keep those things in mind as well, right? To which lodge are they a part of? And it doesn't have to be family either, right? One of the things that people sometimes misunderstand about Freemasonry is this idea that you need to have family members to join, which is not the case. I'm not saying you're saying that, Disillusioned American. I'm just saying because we have non-Masons on this stream, and one of the biggest misconceptions that they have sometimes is you can exclusively join through a family connection, which is not the case. You can join without having a family connection. And I know many first-time Masons. Um, so yeah, just keep that in mind. And I'm sorry to hear that, Raven HQ. That sucks. I hope that Um, I hope that, you do make some more Masonic friends and maybe in the future Masonic brethren. I hope they stick around for a long, long time. Um, Disillusion. Let me know if you've ever been on this stream before. If not, what your thoughts are on this stream. I'd appreciate knowing very much. And thank you for being here. Um, we got some hearts. I don't know if that's um, our friend Smokey, but whomever it is, thank you for being here, as always. And I hope that you are doing well. Sadly, you cannot. I wish you could. Honestly, I think we as Freemasons need to spend more time and doing a better job learning about and appreciating our stonemason roots, but you cannot through Freemasonry. I'm thinking though of trying to do some podcast episodes with with stonemasons, and to learn about stonemasonry. I think one of our biggest challenges is not taking the time to learn more about that stuff. Well, I'm happy that you're cool with meeting good people. Hopefully, you meet some virtually through this stream. What is antinatalism? I've heard that expression before, but I don't exactly know what it means. Does it mean birthright citizenship or not having it? Sometimes it can, Rondo, but usually not. Usually it doesn't make a difference. I think it's more likely to encourage you to want to join if you have a family connection, but it doesn't make the process easier as a general rule. It also may, for a Mason who's joining, help them. They won't have as many maybe nerves about joining because they know somebody in the lodge, they have the family connection. On the other hand, it may in some ways make them more nervous about joining because to what extent does knowing somebody cause them to have a sense of like nerves, like they want to do it and do a good job to make their family member proud, right? Does it maybe in some ways increase the nerves of joining? I think either is possible. All in one and one for all. Thank you for being here. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you're new. Let me know how it's going and if you're having a good day. And thank you for being here. You're absolutely right, Raven. It's one of my favorite things. I always encourage people, take pictures. Take pictures if you see it and share them with me, please. I'd appreciate that as well. I have not, nor have any Masons I know of. And shouldn't you be in jail, Jazane Maxwell? Um, that's as well true, Raven. If you, let's say the lodge to which you're joining had a family member, they passed away, and you're joining, kind of following their footsteps, are you going to be nervous and concerned and afraid of maybe not doing them proud? That's a huge issue, and absolutely can add a great deal of um, um, that can add to the pressures of it. Can also make some people feel like they're in the shadow, right? I've known a lot of people who join a Masonic lodge, and one thing that they get kind of disillusioned with is if they had a father who was a Freemason and active, they're not joining as like Tom, they're joining as, Jim's son, right? Or Harry's son. It's like they don't necessarily feel as though they're their own person. Whereas joining in a Masonic lodge where they don't have family, they can feel as though they're joining as themselves, which, we as Freemasons need to keep that in mind. I know others, though, who've joined Masonic lodges um, where they had family and they feel really proud of maintaining that connection. So you have to it's every person individually has to decide this for themselves. Um, Thank you, Disillusioned American. And I agree. there are a lot of incorrect lies or incorrect information about Freemasonry. I think we as Freemasons have the responsibility to try to counter that by being on these streams. Dixon says MAGA 88. Well, I don't know what that means, but thank you for being here, Dixon. Um, and Mikal is absolutely correct, right? If we're refusing to not even market ourselves, just talk about ourselves openly and honestly, then what can we expect except to see the more negative or incorrect information or bad information become available? That's just part of the nature of being Freemason, is needing to recognize and understand. No one has to, obviously, but I think you're doing a disservice to the craft if you're not willing to step up and provide the correct information. Um, the secrets, the reason why there are secrets, and I don't like to use the term secrets, I like to use the term private information, is because, so Mikhail, if you have a family recipe and it's passed down from your grandmother to your mother to you to your son to his daughter to his son, like if you have this family recipe, the reason you don't post it online and maintain its privacy is not because there's anything nefarious about the recipe, but rather keeping it private maintains the bonds of brotherhood between the past and future generations, right? And then you could ask, well, why should I eat? If let's say you're at this family's home and they serve their family recipe, and you ask, why should I eat this? And they say, well, because it's delicious, and you respond, I want to see the recipe. At a certain point, you have to take things on trust. I can say Freemasonry has allowed me to meet people I would not otherwise have met. It's allowed me to learn more about the world around me in some ways, or at least give me a different way to view the world. And it's allowed me and put me in a privileged position to help people, my brothers and the community. Beyond that, there is an element of trust that you need to have. But that's true for almost anything, right? Like, I guess what I'd say is I try to live and act in such a way to demonstrate I'm a good person, and hopefully that demonstrates Freemasons are good people. Um, I would say none of them go against the morals, the family responsibilities, the civic responsibilities, or the civil responsibilities of any human, right? If it did, Freemasonry would not be able to grow. Um, I wouldn't even say the secrets are ceremonial and philosophical. This is just the way I would describe them. I would say more the secrets are about maintaining the bonds of friendship and brotherhood, right? Again, family recipe example. What I pass down to my future brethren and what they pass down to me is the ritual. And that ritual is unique and special within Freemasonry. That is true. You have to kind of trust that we are not that, though, right? And again, hopefully, the family at which you're having dinner demonstrates enough positive values that you will trust that their family recipe is both tasty and moral in some sense, right? And that's up to us as Freemasons when we are representing Freemasonry to act in such a manner that is demonstrates the value of the craft. Um, yeah, well, ceremony and ritual is very common amongst almost all peoples and all groups and all civilizations. I mean, ritual has existed in some form since, 200,000 years ago, since the first Neanderthals were putting special items in the graves of their fallen brethren, right? There is a nature within the human mind to desire ritual and ceremony. I actually wrote about this in my medium stories. You could argue it's a part of ritual. The desire of it is a way to communicate with the gods as were understood millennia ago. And in modern times, that desire for ritual still exists. Um, and I think, again, there's almost if you want to check out what I wrote about it, go to my Medium channel, follow me on Medium, check out my written work. Um, there's a lot of really cool things on there about ritual and why I think it's important and why I think it's valuable. Ritual definitely gives us a sense of comfort when things go badly. You're absolutely correct about that, Death Stark. But that's more personal ritual. I don't think that's the same as Masonic ritual or civic rituals, right? Like personal rituals give us a sense of comfort. Masonic rituals, I think, are very different. Right? I don't think it's necessarily about a sense of comfort. I think it's about a sense of brotherhood, which can provide comfort, but it's a secondary thing, right? Whereas, you wake up in the morning, let's say you always put on sock, shoe, shoe. Doing that as a little thing can make you feel safe and comforted. There's all sorts of evidence that those type of ritual engagements make people feel more comfortable. No name. Welcome. There you go. Please hit like and subscribe, No Name, and thank you for being here. Absolutely, that can be a very comforting ritual. Drinking your cup of tea and, in the morning, enjoying, comforting mornings like that can be very much type of comforting ritual. All right, I'm going to run to the washroom. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Hold on just 1 second because I have to go to the washroom. Oops. Back in 2 minutes. Hold on just 1 sec. I'm going to pin this message. I'm going to leave you guys with my co-host over here. And then we're going to talk about Fire Prevention Week 2025. Give me 2 seconds. No worries, Disillusioned. I hope, like I said, you'll like and subscribe. Follow me on Patreon if you can. You can join for free. And thank you for being here. I hope you like the information I provided. Okay, I am back. Thank you, Raven. I appreciate that. Obviously, no one should be watching this if it interferes with their work, but if you can do both, then I appreciate that. I agree. A strong foundation is a great thing for speculative as well as operative Freemasonry. I wouldn't use the term real um, Freemasonry. You're not wrong, Mikhail. And that is one of the issues I think we in Freemasonry have right now. I've used this metaphor before. There are a lot of structural issues within Freemasonry. And because of that, it can sometimes feel like the work that you're doing is being kind of built on sand. But we're working on it, and there's a lot of people working on it. Um, So, let's talk about National Fire Prevention Day. Um, no worries. No worries at all, disillusioned. If you don't mind me asking, how did you come across the stream? Did it just show up on your feed? Were you scrolling? Did you search Freemasonry? I'm curious how you came across the stream. Icelandic Viking, it's my co-host. No, no, that, I mean, I think I like the way you treat that, Raven. Everything can be a strength or weakness depending on how you view it. I 100% believe that to be the case. A National Fire Prevention Week? It's this week in the States. I'm not sure if in Canada as well. I think not in Canada, but there are many Masonic buildings in the States. We want to make sure that they are protected from fire or from any emergencies, really. Well, there you go, disillusioned American. I'm still glad you're here. It can be. What language, Modan, if not English? Um, Modan, I think that's an English. I think that's sorry, an Indian name from India. I think it can be. I know people with ADHD who have had a lot of success. They just learn how to harness their ADHD, right? And I think that's a great power. Because it seems that what it allows you to do is hyper focus on specific things, and that hyper focus can provide a lot of benefits. Um, so yeah, and I've seen that where there's a crisis, someone with ADHD has a tendency to actually do incredibly well because they are able to hyper focus. Um, but obviously, there's challenges to it as well. So, if not from China, then where are you from, Modan? What language? Um, I find sometimes even I can thrive in chaos, though I certainly would not prefer chaos. Because even if I'm thriving, everybody else is struggling. So, you want to kind of, you know, think about everybody, I suppose. Arabic? Let me know if this made any sense in Arabic. I do too, Mikhail. So it is, as I said, National um, Fire Prevention Week. I don't have it, at least I don't think I do, but I know other people who do. Um, what can we as Freemasons do to ensure our buildings are safe? Are safe for our membership, are safe for anybody in the public who may be using our buildings, and are safe for Even in some cases, the employees. Some buildings may have custodial staff, janitors, or maintenance staff, right? One of the things we need to do is make sure our buildings are fire safe. We can, for example, every month test our smoke alarms or test our fire alarms. That should be done, I understand, every month. The batteries, I understand, should be changed every year. And I believe every 10 years, the entire smoke alarm should be replaced. But at the very least, test it every month. Um, oh, good catch. Let me get rid of this thing. Remove. All right. Thank you for that. You're not wrong, but I think we should try to test our smoke alarms every month. In Canada, you can actually sign up for a service that every month sends you a reminder to test your smoke alarms. So if you forgot, it's called Saved by the Beep. If you normally would forget, every month you get a reminder to test your smoke alarms. Um, so that's something you can sign up for in Canada. I'm not sure if they have anything similar in the States, but they must, right? I believe that they would. Um, Make sure that if your Masonic building has emergency exits, which it should, make sure that those emergency exits are properly lit at all times. Even if the power goes out, make sure that the emergency lighting remains on. Not just, it says exit, but also there's some type of light above it that shines so people can see where to go in cases of emergency. Um, right? Because one of the worst things that can happen is there's a power outage. Suddenly, not just the main lights go out, but the lights indicating where the emergency exits are goes out as well. Um, well, Peter, you can do that as well. People have different choices and different ways to do it. Um, one thing I would say is you can do both belt and suspenders. You can set your own personal smoke alarm reminder and ask them to email you one. The benefit of getting one by email is it doesn't just email you the reminder to check your smoke alarm. It also reminds you or send within the email, it sends you tips about fire safety and fire prevention. Thank you for being here, Peter Kuzmov. Wonderful to have you back. We're talking about fire prevention in our Masonic buildings. Um, you can also, as somebody noted, um, make sure you have fire extinguishers, at least as many as are required by local ordinance, but maybe even a few more. And there are cards on these fire extinguishers that have the date they were tested. Um, right? And I believe they need to be tested at least twice a year, or inspected at least twice a year, not tested, but at least inspected twice a year. I could be mistaken, but every jurisdiction, every government will have, every municipality will have its own requirements. Make sure you check those, right? And have them properly tested. Or you can just grab snow, Icelandic Viking. There you go. You can have a 2-minute fire drill. Is it worth every couple of years or every year, for example, having Masonic lodges perform a 2-minute fire drill within within their building, within their Masonic lodge, and posting the results of the fire drill, posting the location of the fire exits, within the different floors of the building? You can even download an escape plan worksheet where you can draw a graph of your home's floor plan, plot the fire escape routes. Get out, stay out, never go back inside for people, pets, or things. Honestly, if my if my Masonic if my home was on fire, don't follow my lead, but I would go back in to get my cat. Um, I love my cat. However, there should be no pets in a Masonic building, so you should be okay. Um, I'd do quarterly if there's regular attendance. That's a great piece of advice, Mikhail, right? If you have regular attendance, you should do it quarterly because, I may attend a meeting every 4 months. If you do it yearly, I may miss the testing every year. Doing it quarterly ensures you're going to get the people you need to get. Um, I would also say, um, having a list of any brethren. Yes, the goat's in trouble. I would also make sure, oh, Wendy's, no question. I'd also make sure that you have a list of any brethren who may have mobility issues or challenges and who may need extra help. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm actually pretty mobile off the chair. So if I had to, I could probably get downstairs out of my wheelchair. But do you have a list of Masons who are older, who need help, who need assistance that you have in your lodge? So, if there's been a fire, you can contact or say, can anybody help Bob? Can anybody help Jim? Can anybody help Mort? Can anybody help Bill? Can anybody help whomever it is get out of the building? Or let the fire department know, hey, we got somebody in a wheelchair. He needs extra help when you get here. Oh, Songful, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Please hit the like and subscribe button. That would help me even more. Right? So, well, they wouldn't leave a man behind, but one thing we know is if there's a crisis, people forget, right? If there's a crisis, an emergency, people sometimes forget, or they assume somebody else has got it, right? Um, and it's like the Home Alone thing. Everybody assumes everybody else checks on things. If you actually have a list, it's on top of mind. You're not going to forget. You're going to remember, right? So that's an important thing to keep in mind as well. Um, and recording all of this and having it in a place that's available in public. Um, the other things to think about, and this is more specifically as it relates to Masonic buildings. Many Masonic buildings are heritage, which means they may have unique fire challenges. But more than that, many Masonic buildings are um, large. They can be Byzantine in their layouts sometimes. They have rooms that have special um, titles. For example, not everybody's going to know what a lodge room is or what the lodge room means. Making sure that your local fire department has a floor plan of your building, knows where the rooms are. I would say maybe quarterly, but maybe even yearly. Invite the local fire department out to take a tour of the building so they know where the different rooms are located, what they're called, what they mean. So if I call the fire department and say there's a fire in our lodge room, hopefully somewhere somebody knows what that means, where it's located. Making sure that your local fire department has a key to get into your building if they need it. Or if your doors are automatic, that in the case of a fire, the doors automatically unlock. So you can get in and get access to the building parts that you need or the areas that you need. Um, or the fire department can. Maybe you even need a fire box. Having a phone tree. So there's been an emergency, there's a fire. Who do we contact? Who do we call? Um, who gets the phone call, right? Um, I agree with that, Peter. And we do that in Windsor. We have our fire plans printed near all of the doors of on all of the floors, near all the entrances to each floor. So you can see it. Each brings up a very good point. Never, and this is something I've learned before. If there's an emergency, because I have my first aid, if there's an emergency, never just yell, call 911, because the danger is everybody will assume someone else has done it. Rather, what you need to do is pick a couple of people, point to them, and say, both of you call 911. The reason more than one is if one person's phone doesn't have a battery or can't get to a phone, you have a backup, right? But give specific instructions to say call 911. Don't just yell it out because everybody's going to assume someone else has done it. You need to have people to call 911 and point to people. And even maybe in advance, have that as a designated responsibility of, let's say, the treasurer or the secretary. If you are the secretary of a Masonic lodge, you are responsible for calling 911 in case of emergency. Or if you're the assistant secretary, you're responsible for calling 911 in case of emergency. Um, Good for you, Raven. You're saving people's lives. That's awesome. Um, People freaking out are dangerous, which is why having a plan can reduce the freak out effect, if you will. Um, and then making sure also that the public is aware of these things, right? Making sure um, your fire escapes are free from debris and free from hazards, right? One of the things I've noticed is, especially if you have a fire escape that, let's say, it's in a part of the building that's not regularly accessed, that's not regularly attended or sent to, or like it's just not part of the building you normally go to. Garbage can pile up there. Sometimes you can have homeless people making camp on the fire escapes. They can leave trash or garbage there that are trip hazards. And the space leading away from the fire escape can sometimes be overgrown with weeds, not properly landscaped. If there's a fire, people are rushing to get out. They need to use that area, only it's being blocked by homeless people, trash, garbage, um, being left there. It's got overgrowing weeds or it's not properly landscaped. Now you've got a trip hazard. Heaven forbid you have potentially needles being left in the area as well. That's a very big deal, also. Yes, and Peter, we have that in our buildings, but I did mention that earlier. Make sure you have well-lit exit signs. Don't be like Steve Jobs. If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. Make sure they're always operating, always running, always visible, especially if it's dark, if there's smoke. You need to be able to see those things, right? Make regular contact with your local fire department and your local police department. Use a 311 or a civil service app in order to make sure that you have regular contact with your administration and city administration. Make sure your doors are properly locked, um, right? And properly protected. Not just for your security reasons, but also for your escape reasons, right? If you don't have proper modes of egress, people can find and get into those fire escapes. That creates dangers down the line. Um, it's a slow drop rope system. Well, yeah, heaven forbid, for whatever reason, you don't have adequate fire escapes. That can be very dangerous. And then, you don't want to make it any harder than it needs to be, um, right? When it comes to escape, you want to make it as easy as possible for everybody involved. And again, these reduce liabilities. These also potentially reduce insurance costs. If you have a building that is not properly or adequately protected from fire, then the danger of that is, well, the main danger is loss of life, injury, harm, medical emergency, and that's the most important thing. That's the thing that needs to be most on top of mind. However, there are financial implications as well. Your insurance is not going to be cheap if you're not taking adequate security and emergency preparedness steps. And not just taking those steps, but letting it be known you're taking those steps, right? These steps are great. If people don't know about them, don't know you're doing them, it doesn't help automatically. So you need to keep those things in mind. Um, you can join the Red Crosses, sound the alarm, save a life. Um, um, sound the alarm, save a life initiative. In Canada and Ontario, it's called Saved by the Beep. being part of these things, it's free very often, and nonetheless, it's incredibly valuable. So I hope that you guys will keep those in mind. And this goes on to my more general ideas about Freemasonry, that we in Freemasonry need to make sure we have our first aid certifications. We need to have our safe serve or alcohol service certifications, our safe food handling certifications, right? All of that stuff matters, and all that stuff should be considered regularly. Our working with people with disabilities certification, right? All of that stuff is incredibly important and matters a lot. And I'm proud of the efforts I've made to make those things possible. So um, I hope that that stuff gives people some good ideas. Let me know what you think. Let me ask this question. Do you feel your Masonic Lodge is properly prepared for a fire/emergency? Well, Meech, my country is Canada. It is neither states nor Israel. I do love the United States. I also love Israel. The people of, I have some pretty significant concerns with the brethren. Sorry, not with the brethren. I love my Masonic brethren in Israel, with the government. But I always separate the government from the people. So. I do, Raven. I try to at least, and I try to do that on my stream. Raven, do you follow me on Medium? If you don't, please do so. I will get you my link, and I write about this stuff and post about it on all my socials. Right, but we in Freemasonry need to understand we're not simply an esoteric order, we're a community and civic group, and there are responsibilities that come with that. Good for you, Mr. Keeps. That's exactly what you should have. And it makes me happy to know that if there's a fire, at least you will know about it right away and be able to take the appropriate steps. And that you have sprinklers as well. Good for you. Keep up the good work. Right? That's not just protecting you either. That's protecting the people around you. Because the worst thing that can happen is, it's not just, well, the worst thing would be that you get injured or, heavens forbid, worse. But if the fire spreads because you weren't able to deal with it in your condo. Gandalf. Again, I don't like to think about it, and welcome back, Gandalf. Thank you for being here. I don't like to think about it in terms of benefits. I don't think that's helpful. I think the better way to think about it is what I can contribute. The benefits I've received is I'm in the privileged position that I can help others. But, I have made friends that would not otherwise meet. I've learned more about how to handle and run a meeting, memorization skills, public speaking skills, engagement, all of that stuff. Khalid, please hit like and subscribe. I know my forehead is big. And I'm safe from fire during meetings because I know about the fire safety prevention. Both in Canada and America. So there you go. There is that as well. We're going to give this stream another 15 minutes, then I'll be ending it. I will be back on soon. And please don't forget, to be following me on social media because I have a lot of things coming up that I'm excited for. I'm looking forward to making the announcements very soon. Yes, exactly. Yes, salt is an amazing fire stop. Make sure you're using salt. Make sure you're not using flour. That's very dangerous. And for grease fire, also don't use water. But all this stuff, what you should do, especially if your Masonic building has a kitchen, as mine does, make sure you have it posted, what is happening within your, like, you have these ideas posted. That is very, very important. Right? And again, ask your fire department. Maybe If you're going to do a quarterly fire drill, ask the fire department to come out quarterly or every 6 months or every year and give one presentation to them about these things, to your membership, right? Who better to give you fire safety tips than the fire department? Um, and you want that relationship, right? These relationships matter. They are incredibly, incredibly important. Um, what is it? I mean, that's a good. How do I answer that question, Gandalf? At its core, at its core, nothing. Like, so obviously the people that you serve will be different. There's a because so I know Masons who are both, the Freemasons and they attend church regularly. The people that they serve in their Masonic lodge and the people they serve in their church are different groups of people, right? One connected to them through their religious beliefs, the other connected to them through their membership in Freemasonry. So obviously, it's a different set of people that are coming together based on a different goals. I would say um, serving people in your lodge is not based on religious affiliations, right? And so th- that can have benefits, or if you are a religious person that, maybe you prefer to serve people in a more religious context. But at its core, I mean, I'd say what is the difference, even between being a volunteer fireman and being like it's all about service at its core. It's just about the thing that you love and the thing that speaks to you, right? Freemasonry speaks to me in a way that religious institutions don't. So I prefer to serve people through Freemasonry. There may be people who, religious affiliations speak to them more strongly than Freemasonry. So they may choose to serve people through Freemasonry, or sorry, through religious institutions. Or there may be people who find both Freemasonry and religion speaks to them in different ways, and so serve people through both Freemasonry and religion. Um, right, whether the motivation is religion or fraternal service or civic engagement, it still is at the end of the day service in some way. So I guess what I'd say is the Mason has to determine for himself. I mean, hello, YouTube 68. Like if you are like me and you love music, right? My favorite song in the world is Simple Man. The thing I get from Simple Man and love about Simple Man is not the same thing I get from other music. That doesn't mean other music is less good or worse. It's just a matter of um, recognizing what speaks to you. So I hope that that made sense. But let's not light any fuses. We just talked about fire safety and fire prevention, and here you guys are out there lighting fuses. No worries, Gandalf. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't done so before. And thank you for being here. Randy, welcome. Please hit like and subscribe. I think you're new to the stream. Um, it sounds to me like you might be a religious fella. Thank you, Gandalf. That's very kind of you. Um, Tim Cook. It's funny, I've done some stories about Apple. I don't know if people know this, but uh, Steve Woz is in fact a Freemason in a cool little Apple note. So I'm doing well. Yeah, well, he's a Freemason. He joined after he was, founded Apple, many years after. But yeah, I'm been a big fan of the Steve Jobs documentary. Yeah, and the movie, the biopics, and I think we in Freemasonry could potentially learn a lot from the Steve Wozniaks of the world and the Steve Jobs of the world. I think we as Freemasons should not be afraid to take ideas and lessons from others, even if they're not Freemasons themselves. I think one of our greatest mistakes in Freemasonry is focusing too much on what people think within the craft and not understanding that there's a lot of value and insights that we can take from other groups and organizations and apply them to Freemasonry. We're going to give this stream another, let's say, 9 minutes, and then we will be ending it. I'll be back on at 1 a.m., and please follow me for some exciting announcements coming up in the following weeks. So I'm looking forward to sharing those with you guys. I do too, Raven, and that might be something I talk about coming up very soon. Um, because I think day-to-day Masonic symbolism, it might be a topic that'll get a lot of people interested in Freemasonry as well. So, never heard of it. Never heard of Exxon gas stations. That's not something I'm aware of. What's the symbolism there? Goodbye, Dad. Thank you for being here as always. I truly appreciate it. I hope so. I try my best. Well, Jason, hit like and subscribe anyways. Really? I had no idea. Well, I mean, the cross of Lorraine, it's the T with the smaller T on top. I did not know that that was also two X's. I never heard of that before. I'll have to double check that. Or maybe it means different symbols in like different areas. I'll have to double check that because I'm not sure. Exxon Mobil. All right, let me see. Oh, yeah, that is. I never noticed that before. You're right. That is the Cross of Lorraine on a slant. I wonder if it's a coincidence or if they meant it that way. Um, Curious. I'll have to look that up. Ontario, Jason. Ontario, Canada, not Ontario, Ontario, California. Ontario, Canada. Mobil logo. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's just a coincidence. Looks like it was just a coincidence. It's interesting, though, nonetheless. I just did a quick Google search about it, so I'll try to look into it a little bit more, see if I can find anything more about it. Um, but cool. I've heard of an Exxon gas station. I just never paid attention to the logo of it before, Jason. I never looked at the logo. But it does look like the Cross of Lorraine. But according to Google, that's just a coincidence. I take public transport, man. I'm not driving. Well, a lot of Masons will see Masonic symbols or things that look like Masonic symbols and think it was a plan and not just a coincidence. Very often things are coincidences, though. You need to be careful. One thing I will say, sometimes Freemasons, we are our own worst enemy when it comes to this stuff. Anything we see, we'll immediately treat it as it has to be Masonic because it looks like it, as opposed to it could very often just be a coincidence. Acura versus Acura and Honda logo. They look similar. I mean, you could argue if you put them one on top of the other, it would look like the square and compasses, but again, I'm not willing to say that it might not just be a coincidence. I live on my own, Jason. If you want to help me keep living on my own, you can become a subscriber, hit like, hit subscribe, and comment, like on videos, etc., etc. All that stuff helps out big time. Well, I mean, the thing is, yeah, Freemasonry will naturally have strong design principles, right? We need to have strong design principles to promote Freemasonry, or not even to promote Freemasonry per se, but just to create a brand for Freemasonry. And a big part of that, design is universal. What makes a good design is universal. Freemasonry is dipping from the same well as everything else. Um, And as James Patterson says, right, 45 and 90-degree angles are appealing. Freemasonry, a lot of people, especially Freemasons, have this tendency to think Freemasonry invented these things. Freemasonry is dipping from the same well as everything else, right? Ancient Chinese mythology were using square and compasses in their drawings and paintings far before, long before Freemasonry existed. I do remember that, Rondo. I do remember that. It's a great example of it, right? Good design is universal. I think Steve Jobs, speaking of, understood that. Um, why can't this be my job, Jason? If you love something, you should try to make it into your job. And that's true. Your head is a pineapple, Jason. You need to keep that in mind. All right, we're going to give this another 2 minutes. I'll be back on at 1 a.m. As always, please pay attention to everything on my streams. I'd appreciate it on my social media. Um, Good for you, Jason. Nothing's wrong with working 60 hours a week. You should be proud of the work and the effort you're putting into it. I'm sure you do work incredibly hard. Um, and I'm sure you have an incredibly good work ethic, both for yourself and if you have a family, I'm sure you support them as well. Though I point out here, you're not working, you're on my stream. So at least some of those 60 hours are not happening right now. Well, again, I was going to say I'm glad you. I guess I'm not happy you work 60 hours because that's a lot. I'm sure it's exhausting and you should be very proud of yourself. But I am happy you have a job. I hope it, treats you well and pays you well. But I am happy you work second shift because it means you could be on here for the first shift. Um, well, I can't pronounce that name. I will be turning off my phone soon, but I hope you hit the like and subscribe button before I do. 4 p.m. until midnight. Then you do work incredibly hard and keep up the good work. You should be proud of yourself. himish. I'm talking about Freemasonry. If you want to join me, please hit like and subscribe. Because I love Freemasonry and I love talking about it. So I am a Freemason. I've been a Freemason since 2007. I did not see. I do not know. Well, the reason why I'm a Freemason is because my family were Freemasons and I joined because I was assumed I would. The reason I became active in it is because I love it and I think there's a great deal of value to it. I like the way it sounds, is what I always say, which means I like, there's something about it that speaks to me. It's everybody has their own interesting Masonic answer. It's not a religion, right? Freemasonry is not a religion. It's a fraternity. It is awesome and terrible and wonderful and challenging. I mean, everybody's Masonic experience is a little bit different. What I'll say is it's something I'm dedicating myself to, and there's a lot of challenge in dedicating yourself to anything. But beyond that, you kind of have to join to understand it. Um, but you know, it's part of belonging. It's that sense of belonging, which is an incredibly valuable thing. Um, that I think we, in different levels, all have a tendency to crave. So, shoot, Spirit. I'll do my best to answer. And then I'm going to be ending this stream. I'll be back on at 1 a.m. So, what is the question, though? If I can answer it, you have to give some hearts. Oh, uh, uh, oh my gosh, Chucky, right? He's the serial killer that goes into the doll, the good guy doll in Chicago, played by Brad Dourif, uh, or Brad Dourif. Hey, I got the hearts. I must have got it right. There you go. Thank you, Raven, and I appreciate you being here as well. I mean, I think it's a tragedy. I think any war is a tragedy, and my heart bleeds for anybody, but especially for my Masonic brethren who are on both sides of this war. Um, so yeah, I guess that's my view on that. All right, guys, thank you all for being here. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good night or have a good day. Maybe join me at 1 a.m. if you'd like. And hit that like and subscribe button on the way out.